Mizuno's mystery shoe number 1 has been revealed to be the Mizuno Neo Zen. But who's the shoe made for? How does it fit? What is the overall experience? That's what we're breaking down today. What's up, everybody? I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod. You're watching Rad Dad Pod TV, where we review running shoes. And today, like I said, we're breaking down the Mizuno Neo Zen. Now, if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice some timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of the review. But if you do so, I would sure appreciate it if you came back and watched the full video when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these. And if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see more of in these videos. And if you're already a subscriber, but you haven't hit that notification button, please go ahead and do so to get alerted every time I drop a new video, which is typically on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Now, before we dive into the meat of this review, let's talk some quick disclaimers and disclosures, which are that I was provided these shoes for free for the purpose of review. That being said, I was not paid. No one gives me talking points. No one watches these videos beforehand. All thoughts are entirely my own. That out of the way, let's talk about the intended use of this shoe. Now, actually, before I talk about the intended use, I already know there's going to be at least one comment down below saying that I'm saying Mizuno wrong and that it's Mizuno. Just to be clear, it's not Mizuno. It is actually Mizuno, which is a Japanese last name, and this is a Japanese brand. In fact, Mizu is the same as Mizu, meaning water. So now you know it's technically actually Mizuno. But due to potential pronunciation issues or just westernizing or Americanizing different words, the same way many people say Adidas instead of Adidas, just know that the brand name is technically Mizuno, and I have confirmed that with the reps themselves. Now, talking about intended use of the shoe, this is what I would consider a lightweight up-tempo trainer. It falls within the daily trainer category, but it's part of kind of either the new wave or potentially the old wave or old school kind of racing style flat, to be honest. Essentially, the thought here is it's a daily trainer, but it's a little bit lighter weight, and then they put a more responsive foam underfoot that can also be used in racing shoes. So depending on how you categorize, either way, this is a shoe that is really supposed to be made for kind of daily miles. You can run easy runs in it, you can run daily steady runs in it, and you can even run a little bit fast in it, but more on that when we talk about the midsole. Now, from a price perspective, this shoe comes in at $150, which this is another reason why I kind of put it in that lightweight trainer category, because that's pretty typical of the price range of that category. And frankly, it's a steal. $150 for a very, very versatile shoe, and what actually may end up being either my number 1 or number 2 shoe of the year in 2025. If it was 2024, frankly, this would have been my number 2 shoe of the year, right behind the Super Blast 2. In fact, I feel like this is kind of a Super Blast Junior in a lot of ways. Moving to the specs, this shoe comes in at 8.3 ounces, which is about 235 grams. So again, fairly lightweight for kind of a daily use shoe. A lot of daily use shoes go up to kind of the mid-9s, maybe even the 10-ounce range. So it's going to be lightweight. It's not going to feel like it's weighing your feet down at all. But even at that weight, you have 46 millimeters in the heel, 40 millimeters in the forefoot, and a 6 millimeter overall heel to toe drop. So this could really, again, thinking about where the Super Blast 2 kind of sits, this really fits in that same category of responsive foam, high stack underfoot. You could even call this like a plateless super trainer in some ways, but Mizuno directly is putting it more in the daily trainer category. Now, from a fit perspective, I got a pretty unique experience with this shoe because I have a 10.5 here, which is my normal size, and then a size 10, which is where I put the bulk of my miles, just because they didn't have the 10.5 available when I first got the shoe. So when referencing the true to size shoe, it fits a lot like the Mizuno Neo Vista, if you've run in that or tried that on, in the sense that the upper is very, very similar, if almost identical to that, where it's going to be a little bit roomy or voluminous in the toe box. Like there's a lot of extra room there, and it does fit a little bit long. And then in the midfoot, the experience is a little bit different. It is what I would say like standard fit, where the Neo Vista felt maybe a little bit more narrow fit in that midfoot. And then the heel itself is going to be pretty standard in my mind. But this is a roomier overall fit. And I do think that at your full size, if you are wide-footed, you may be okay, but if you're not wide-footed, you may want to consider half-sizing down. The length is long enough that with half-sizing down, it felt maybe a little bit shorter than I would normally prefer in my standard fitting shoes, but the lockdown of that upper and the fit of the shoe felt much more streamlined in my half-size down. Having run again in my normal size though, I don't think I would have had any issues or really been too upset about the fit of the shoe. I just knew that the half size down fit me better, and that was my first experience. So I think you'll be okay in your normal size, but I might recommend half sizing down unless you are someone who is kind of in between sizes, or if you have wide feet, then you might want to go with your normal standard size. Now the upper is a knit sock fit material, but where it kind of differs for me compared to like the Neo Vista, and maybe some other like sock-like fits, because I'm typically not actually a fan of sock-like fits. And the reason why is because there's too much stretch a lot of the time in the upper to where I feel disjointed from the actual midsole of the shoe. Now in both of my sizes, I felt like I could get really good midfoot lockdown. I did feel like there was some bunching in the upper in my normal size. I didn't really get the bunching, and that kind of just happened at where the tongue would be, but this is pretty much a tongueless shoe. And so on my normal size, yes, there was some bunching here when you cinched down, but both of them, again, you could get good midfoot lockdown. I didn't feel like I was sliding around in the shoe at all. And then there is not necessarily like a ton of structure here in the heel, but there is some reinforcement or padding, and it creates at least the shape, and you can see it kind of curves out here. So my heel actually fit in place really, really well. Even with a knit upper, the shoe fits fairly streamlined. And then you have some of these additional overlays for support, and then some additional overlays or kind of almost like a toe cap here. So the stretch, again, in this upper, it looks identical to a lot of like knit uppers, but the stretch is primarily just here in where the tongue would be. And the rest of it is actually pretty locked in with kind of this dual layer knit that they have going on here. So really, overall, this is one of the few knit uppers that I have enjoyed. I think most reviews of mine, if you've seen them where they have knit uppers, that tends to be a rough point for me. Now, as you can imagine with this knit, there's a lot of holes, there's a lot of ventilation, a lot of breathability with the shoe. So the shoe is going to be breathable. It's not going to be overheating on your foot, which is nice. And then there's just some little details like the pull tab here, which all of the stretch in the shoe is pretty much here in that ankle collar and kind of lacing section. The rest, like I said, it doesn't really stretch too much. That knit is pretty reinforced, it's pretty locked in, and so you get the stretch in the places where you need it. You're not gonna get a lot of plush, you're not gonna get a lot of cushion in the upper. In fact, I would say there's pretty much none, but it does have that nice locked in sock fit to where you don't really feel the need for that. As far as any rubbing within the shoe, I didn't really feel any. There were no hot spots even around this ankle collar. I know sometimes people get hot spots with like a knit upper, especially if there's not like a heel cup cushion or anything, which there's not here. And really, I had no issues with rubbing, chafing, anything like that in this shoe. Now, moving to the midsole, this is where the magic happens. And so you can see on this colorway that it was the mystery colorway, so there's nothing really written on there. But in the launch colorway here, you'll see that it says Mizuno Energy NXT, which is not to be confused with the Energy NXT that was in other models. In fact, I think this is the first model where they use a TPU nitrogen infused based foam. So a lot of companies do this, and I don't know why they do this. It's really frustrating to me as a shoe reviewer. I wish I could just look at what the foam says and then know exactly the compound. But sometimes, for example, in the Neo Vista, you had Energy NXT, but that was EVA nitrogen infused. And again, this one is TPU nitrogen infused. It's a brand new foam, first time that they are using it. And let me tell you, it's really, really nice. The foam is soft, it is squishy, but it's not mushy. So you're not gonna stand in this shoe and have it just like squish underfoot and compress and absorb all that energy. Instead, you get a very bouncy, like this is a super, super bouncy shoe. You hit the ground and you rebound off. And yes, it is gonna squish down. Yes, it is gonna compress, but it's not something like it's not like Fresh Foam X from New Balance where it kind of absorbs the shock and just kind of squishes down. No, anything that you put into the shoe, it almost firms up when you put that force behind it, and it launches you from there. So not as firm as maybe like the Super Blast 2, but similar experience of just like popping off the ground, bouncing off the ground. Very, very bouncy shoe overall. A lot of fun. Now, because of that, that's where the shoe gets a little bit confusing, where, you know, I would say up-tempo daily trainer, you have a responsive foam. I think this could be a race foam. I think this could be considered like a super trainer, even though it's not technically categorized there, to where it's super pace versatile. So I've worn it on long runs with some paces. I've worn it on tempo, threshold, worn it on easy runs, recovery runs, daily standard miles, and it performs really, really well across the board. So it's going to be one of the best kind of do-it-all shoes out there. Where it probably lacks is just really maybe in short intervals, like short explosive stuff, track work. Like I don't think because of the stack, because of the bounce, it's not going to be a shoe that you're going to want to be like running fast circles around in. But it's very, very versatile, very, very fun, very, very bouncy overall. Now stability, right? Stability, this is not a shoe in my mind that you're going to want to be wearing if you have overpronation issues or if you have major stability needs. Not that the shoe is inherently unstable by any means. In fact, it is a little bit wider than I think the Neo Vista, which is what visually I think a lot of people are going to see here, right? But so it's not like inherently unstable, but it is a shoe that is going to be high rebound. It is a shoe that is softer than a lot of others. So if you are someone who struggles with that rolling, probably not the shoe for you. The other thing to mention here is no plate, but you can see because of the thickness of that foam, it is pretty snappy. So again, no plate here, but a decent amount of pop. It's not going to be that sharp like explosiveness. Again, more of a smooth bouncy ride. And you do have the smooth speed assist geometry, which is supposed to reduce some pressure on your calves and just lower leg muscles. Overall though, very, very smooth, bouncy, fun ride. Moving to the outsole, you have what's called an X10 rubber. Solid grip. I haven't had any issues on wet roads. It's not like in a very aggressive tread pattern though. And so it wouldn't surprise me if people did end up having some slippage. I'll be getting some additional miles in this colorway and trying to see how it handles more winter, you know, like icy or frozen roads. I didn't get a chance to run in it in that environment. Most of my runs were fairly dry, but the grip handled what you would expect. Now, as far as durability of said grip, again, this pair only has a few miles on it. Looking at the pair where I did most of my work in, and you can see, yeah, there maybe is a little bit of wear, but not as much as you would expect for, you know, 40 to 50-ish miles on the shoe. Now, as far as who's this shoe for, I would say it's for pretty much anyone other than someone with stability needs, right? At $150 with the versatility of the shoe, right? The comfort underfoot, yes, soft, but very bouncy, very responsive, you know, high stack. I think that everyone could find a place for this shoe in their rotation, and it's rare that I kind of broadly recommend shoes. There's one other shoe that I have tested this year in 2025 already that I think I would recommend for like 99% of runners as well. And I'll do a comparison of those two shoes in the future, but that one is the Adidas Evo SL. Now there's going to be maybe some things that come down to preference, right? The knit upper, for example, maybe you can't quite find your lockdown in the shoe. I do recommend most people half size down unless you have a wide foot again, so keep that in mind. The other thing is if you just like a firmer foam, which I tend to like a firmer foam, but I also like a responsive foam. This is a very responsive foam. So, but if you don't like soft foams at all, right? You have a desire or a need for a firmer foam, that might be a, you know, this may not be a good shoe for you, but it is just so versatile. And the fact that you can use it on easy days, the fact that you can take it for long runs, you can do threshold workouts, tempo workouts, things along those lines. And just maybe you wouldn't like it for, you know, sharp, fast intervals. But newer runners who are doing, you know, their 200s, their 400s, whatever on the road, a lot of the time, maybe you're not going to a track, I think that this shoe will get it done too. So really, I couldn't recommend this shoe anymore for people. It is been one of the biggest surprises to me, especially as someone, I was not a huge fan of the Neo Vista. So I know I'm maybe in the minority in there, but I absolutely loved the Neo Zen. And I think that everyone can find room for it, whether you have a one shoe rotation and this is your one, or you're looking at a multi-shoe rotation and you like kind of how this is going to fit in with maybe some other models. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day, and like a 2-shoe rotation, especially if you don't like using carbon fiber plates or any plate for that matter, a two-shoe rotation of the Evo SL and the Neo Zen is gonna cover 100% of your bases. I would race a marathon in either of those, frankly, and I would race, you know, 10K, 5K in the Evo SL. So you can really cover all of your bases between those two shoes and have a really strong 2-shoe rotation. And guess what? They're both $150. So that's a steal, considering a lot of super shoes nowadays cost almost $300. So you can get both of them for that cost and cover across the board, right? You don't have to race in carbon fiber plated shoes. You don't have to race in any type of plated shoe. You just got to be comfortable and have enough cushion underfoot to go your distance. So just some final thoughts on the shoe. Obviously, I'm raving about this one. I really try, believe it or not, to stay objective on these reviews and give kind of the facts and tell you how it feels. And I hope that I still was able to give that feedback on the shoes so you can decide for yourself whether the shoe is for you or not, right? I said a couple of things like, if you don't like the knit uppers, right, maybe the fit isn't quite right for you. Maybe you don't like the softer, bouncier foam underfoot. That's totally fine. It may not be for you, but I think most people can find a place for the shoe in the rotation. And I'm really, really excited now to see what Mizuno has done with the rest of the mystery shoes, you know, 2 through 4. As well as what the impact is going to be on more of their shoes, right? I do have the Wave Rebellion Pro 3. I've only done, I think, 2 runs in the shoe. I need to get more runs in it just to kind of see how I feel overall. But Mizuno is starting off hot in 2025, and the Neo Zen is a huge, huge win for me in my mind. Now, if you've watched this far, I sure appreciate it. Please go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, enable notifications so you get a notification every time I drop a video, which again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my typical cadence, but I've got a lot of videos that I need to edit, so you may actually see more than 3 videos for the next couple of weeks as I just try and burn through a lot of my backlog of reviews. Now, other than that, I would sure appreciate if you hit that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know if you've tried the Neo Zen or what shoe you're most excited for in 2025. In fact, let's have that be our question of the day, and we'll leave you with it, which is the shoe that you are most excited for this year, regardless of brand? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody. We'll see ya.